What is up guys, Mrwhosetheboss here. Welcome to my full review of the PlayStation TV. So this thing is really tiny. It is by far the smallest console I've ever seen. Compared to something like the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 4, this thing is just a total midget. It's actually quite funny. Even having said that though, this thing's feature set is actually basically the same. You still get a game card slot, a memory card slot, an Ethernet port, a USB port, and a port for the power. It's pretty fully featured, all things considered. I have to say I'm actually also impressed with how the device is built. Firstly, the packaging was very nice. PlayStation-esque, comes with all the accessories you'd want, and to be honest the device looks very nice. It's got a glass front and a glass back, and the rest is basically a soft touch plastic. It's not exactly the greatest looking device in the world, but it'll basically fit quite nicely in any sort of cabinet, and the fact that it's just so small means that it can basically fit anywhere and people won't even know it's there. Now one thing I didn't like is that the PlayStation TV requires you to have a PlayStation 3 controller to use it. Now I realise for a lot of people that's not going to be an issue, but for me personally I don't own a PlayStation 3, so I couldn't actually set up the device for another week. Also, there's a lot of cables here. I mean, just with the HDMI and power plugged in, you can see that it already is starting to look like a bit of a mess. The power cable is much longer than it needs to be, and what you can actually see here is without even taking into account the Ethernet cable which needs to plug in, as well as the controller's USB cable. It gets really bad. So in terms of the way the actual device performs and the image it outputs, I have to say I was generally quite impressed. So when you plug the PlayStation TV in via HDMI, you get a 720p 60fps picture. All things considered, I think that's pretty good. For something this size, and it originally being a portable device, it's actually outputting quite a decent image. The whole operating system has been optimized very well and runs at a very fluid 60 frames per second. There's very little lag and stuttering. It's even faster than it is on the PlayStation Vita. Even when we play games, I have to say, it looks really quite nice. I mean, this is really hard to actually imagine that this is being powered off basically a portable console. This is something that you can slip in your pocket, and yet it's playing almost at the same level as the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. But you also have to take into account that the PlayStation Vita's library is not exactly the biggest, and on top of that, not all the games are actually supported. In fact, it's kind of a minority that are, and it's a little bit disappointing to see the older games not being updated to support this hardware. So there's no split-screen multiplayer, and obviously the games are just much less graphically impressive and perform less well than those on the larger console counterparts. So now let's bring this review to a close, starting by talking about the build. So I was very impressed with the way the PlayStation TV was built. I mean, the only thing they possibly could have done on top of this is to use some metal, but to be honest, that would add some unnecessary weight. It's built very strongly, and there's little to complain about. The features it has to offer are vast. I mean, for its size, this thing can do basically anything you'd want a console to do. As a TV box, it's lacking some key features. I mean, it obviously has the basics like Netflix, but even stuff like YouTube is actually not included here, and that is kind of a big deal. Now, in terms of performance, you can't compare this to a standalone console, because if you do, this thing will be blown away. Both the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 offer significantly more features, performance, and gaming quality than this little thing. But then again, if you don't own those consoles, this is a great way to enter the PlayStation market, earn trophies, enjoy some TV, and just have an overall better TV experience. Call it cliche, but the way I see the PlayStation TV is a device that is trying to be a jack of all trades and ends up being a master of none. It has services to satisfy the gamer, the TV watcher, the music listener, but none are particularly extensive or well thought out. I think your best bet is to spend a bit more and get the Nvidia Shield TV. Thanks for watching guys.